Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute privilege and an honor of mine to be making this video for all of you. This is a massive announcement. Effective 12 o'clock midnight last night, I have been awarded the Grandmaster title. Now, how do you get awarded the Grandmaster title in the world of chess? You either have to fulfill the rating requirement and the norms requirement, you have to win certain designated tournaments. However, regulations in place until 31st of December 2021 were amended recently. I'm going to go over the FIDE rulebook. This has been kept down low because it would be mildly controversial. But the original FIDE regulations have stated these requirements for the awarding of titles. You are more than welcome to go over the FIDE handbook. However, they recently instituted a slight change. Effective on the 1st of April, this has been in the works for most of 2022 of the first quarter, you may be eligible to get the Grandmaster title with 9 games submitted online. Every single game that you play and submit must be against a person with the title that you are submitting for, wherever they are here, and this has to be their minimum rating, and every single game has to be a victory. And so, folks, I have been awarded this title with my submission of 9 games by the Director General and the preceding FIDE Council, and in this video, I want to take you through these 9 amazing games where I have defeated Grandmasters between the ratings of 2,800 and 3,000. Now, obviously, these games can't be silly games with short time controls. All of them are actually 3-minute blitz, which we know is the mode of chess that can provide the highest quality of game. Now, I'm going to take you through these games, all right? The first of which is my victory against Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. And stick around at the end. I will show you that I am not messing around. This is actually completely legitimate. And oh my goodness, that is an extremely bright beam of light behind me to celebrate my triumph. This was a blitz game that I played against Hikaru, where he played on his alternate account. He's not 3,200. He went for an exchange Karo Khan. I played a main line with Queen C7, looking to expand in the middle of the board with E5. And Hikaru played a little bit carelessly in this game. He castled, and a couple moves later, I castled queenside, and he sort of didn't really ever take my potential brewing attack seriously here on the kingside. Like a true future Grandmaster, well, what did I do? I slowly loaded up my army, and when it was ready and game time to go, I began pushing my pawns. A couple moves later, I played the move H4, and while you would think that the move H3 would occur, no. The move H3 is actually a move that an international master would play, whereas I had much better intentions. My intentions were diabolical in nature, and I wanted to put my knight on G3, sacrificing it to open up the H file and suffocating Hikaru's king here in the corner of the board. Hikaru played G4, but listen, I want to be a Grandmaster. I've got to know that en passant is forced, and this game ended in style as I didn't even take his knight back. I brought my queen to H3, trying to get G2 mate, and then I won his queen. But oh, if you think this was the end of things, it was most certainly just the beginning. As here, while the attack looks to have been thwarted, I play rook takes H2, he plays bishop takes, and my queen is pinned to my king. But that's what an international master would blunder in. Come on, I don't have that fake title. Rook H8, pinning this, Hikaru defends, and I can't take because I'm still pinned, but I block the pin with my knight, recreating this threat. Hikaru moves out of the way, and now a beautiful conclusion. I sacrifice my queen. If he takes, rook takes H2 is mate, and I am also threatening queen takes H2 as well as rook H2 myself. And in this position, Hikaru resigned the game. And this was, to this day, actually my most impressive victory in my life and in Blitz in particular. So this was obviously the first one that we had to come through with. But there were more. Another game, this one against Peter Svidler, who is representing with the Russian flag, because this was obviously pre times of horrible war, so he is not playing under the FIDE flag. This is an older game, but listen, just like last game, it's my trusty Karo Khan with the black pieces. Svidler plays the short variation, which is a restricting one in nature. He wants to prevent me from playing the move C5, and so I have to go for a slightly different plan on the queen side. Now, Peter Svidler is a very strong GM, so what does he do? He starts to put the positional squeeze on me. But back then, I'm a garbage international master. I don't actually understand what positional chess is, and well, I give Svidler a completely winning positional advantage, where he plays knight e1, ready to trade off my light squared bishop and play f4, f5. Now listen, this isn't as nice of a victory as we had in the last game, but a victory is a victory. So I tried to play scrappy chess, all right? I knew that Peter was coming for me, so I tried to get both the bishops off the board, because I know that Grandmasters can be very good with bishops, and if you remove them, well, they might have slightly less chances. So here Peter goes for f4, he sacrifices his pawn on the other side of the board, and he plays f5. My time has come. Peter is about to play f6, and then I will be forced to weaken my king. The queen, the rook, the knight will come in, and I will be in dire straits. But I start defending with my queen, because why wouldn't you defend your position with the most powerful attacking piece that's worth the most, that can't be traded for anything? That's what an IM would do, baby. Peter plays rook f4. Now, rook f4 has a nice idea to play rook g4 after playing queen f3. But, you know, Peter, once again, was thinking like a super GM, and he was not thinking like a 2608 garbage international master, and he simply forgot that there is an Achilles heel in his position. This knight is the protector of this rook, but when I see a pawn that I can take, I'm going to take it, and 8 times out of 10, it's going to be a blunder. But in this case, the knight is also defending the rook, a monumental tactical mistake here from white, and the game is simply lost. Because what happens is, if you take, I take this, and then I take your pawns. And if you move your queen, as Peter did in the game, I go here, Peter attacks my queen, and now there's a hanging knight, and there's a hanging rook, and if I play queen h5, this is an FM move. Rook takes g7 would win my queen. Here I played danger levels. I saw that my queen was hanging and my knight was hanging, but I thought, well, if he wants to take my queen, he's going to have to take it from my cold, dead hands. And with knight e5, Peter resigned the game, because if he takes my queen, it's a check, and I win his rook. And if he takes my knight, well, it's the same situation. It's a fork. So 22 move win over 3,000 rated Peter Svidler. Very much an honor to play this man. I'm a big fan of his, both in commentary and his games. And this is my second game submission that I sent over to FIDE to get my Grandmaster title. The third game that I have for you, I was with the white pieces against Alexei Sarana, playing currently under the Serbian flag, 29-42 rated player. This one, I went for a Trumpowski, and we got a basically a Caro-Kann structure early on. Relatively balanced game. I gave him a little attack with my queen. He defended, and a couple moves later, he got into my position with his knight. You see, Grandmasters, particularly very strong ones rated 29-3000, they have absolutely no respect for their opposition, so they're going to basically attack at all costs. And that's basically what he was doing in this game. So I decided to remove his knight. He went back. And here I played the move g3, which is just an absolutely brain-dead move. I mean, basically, I have 2 bishops, a knight, a queen, and 2 rooks, and I push a pawn in front of my king for absolutely zero reason, weakening all the light squares. Here, Alexei decides that there will no longer be a queen trade. I throw out my a-pawn. He meets me right there because his idea is to play b5, and I do absolutely nothing to stop it. Here, I also fulfill the quest of putting every single pawn I have on a dark square, effectively rendering this bishop completely useless, and giving black an overwhelming positional advantage on the light squares. Once again, we see that an IM doesn't really respect positional play, and Alexei is going in on the queen side and trying to put my king into some trouble. So far, he is doing everything right, but he forgets that I am a terrible chess player, at least then I was, and I trade off his bishop and play queen g4, and I make a threat. He protects, I now infiltrate, and he simplifies the game into knight versus bishop. My pawns are still all on dark squares, and his pawns are all on light squares. Literally, my bishop is completely useless. I put my rook on b6, centralize my bishop in back of me as a pawn, in front of me as a pawn, and this way as a rook. This is the biggest fat pawn in the world. It is absolutely anything but a bishop. But again, international masters, we don't really know any positional chess. We just go for checkmate. And so what did I do? I just went for the king. I basically pretended like I didn't have a massive weakness here, a completely useless piece. And, well, lo and behold, sometimes when you throw poop at your opponent, they get a little bit startled, and Alexei blunders, queen takes pawn, hitting his rook, and now he has absolutely nowhere to go, and I swarm him here with my weakest link, and he resigns. And this is the third game for my Grandmaster submission, as I was successful in defeating Mr. Alexei Sarana, a very strong Grandmaster, also a big fan of his chess. But that's 3 wins down. Now we need 6 more to qualify for this title. Every one of my opponents has to be rated over 2,800. Now some of you might have recently seen this game, so I'm not going to waste too much time on it. This is the 4th highest rated player I have defeated on chess.com and Blitz. It's David Paravyan, Russian GM. And I played my Black Gambits repertoire. I was down a pawn on move 9 because, again, I'm horrible and he's significantly better than me. But I made him so confused with my terrible opening that he traded off into a position where he was down a pawn. So he went from 7-6 to 6-5, and I kept the 6. So I just got 2 extra pawns. And sometimes when you play these players, you know, the best thing to do is to play horrible chess against them because they're sort of used to only playing good chess. And yeah, I mean, I basically just put all of my pawns out on light squares, just like I did in the last game, 0 positional understanding. But this time, my pawns are all on the opposite color square of my bishop. You see how I'm learning game to game? So 5, right? 5 pawns on light squares with a dark squared bishop. And in this game, you know, I ended up trading the bishop for the knight, leaving me with the knight versus the bishop. See, I learned from that Alexei game. You see how everything is the complete opposite here. All my pawns basically are on the opposite color square of his bishop. And David tried to defend the position to the best of his ability, but he was just simply overwhelmed by my garbage dump of chess skills. And here I could have won the game in like 95 different ways, and I ended up choosing the 96th, which was incredibly scary. And I almost blundered mate in 1, which obviously is the international master in me going to work, but I was victorious here on time. So I was actually unable to even defeat him on the chessboard. I had to rely on his flag running to 0 and leaving him immobile on the board because he is no longer able to make any moves. But a win is a win, and you can't really complain, right? So this is my 4th submission, a victory over 29-42 rated David Paravian. But from here on out, it's probably going to be games that you've never seen. This is a game, 2900 rated Le Quang Liem, and here I play the A3 Sicilian. This is an opening that really confuses folks because against the Sicilian, there are like 27 good options, and A3 is the 28th. Just kidding, if you have my E4 course, this is one of my recommendations against the Sicilian. I'm just joking. In this game, I really went after him. I mean, I played h4, I saw AlphaZero do it, so I thought, hey, you know, I mean, I am, but that doesn't mean that I can't play like the computer. And no, absolutely, that's exactly what it means, because then I proceeded to sacrifice my rook. So last game, I was down a pawn on move 9, now I'm down a rook for a piece. However, my game plan is the same. Confuse my opponents with very bad play. The problem is that Liam was ready for my very bad play. He built up a giant wall of pawns in the center, and I am no longer able to do anything. At this point, he begins trying to trade pieces with me. Both bishops are up for grabs, and here he plays the absolutely brilliant move, King D7. This is the best move according to Stockfish, and somehow he defends his entire position, and even though his king is on C6, I'm unable to break through that central wall of pawns. So, I have met my match. So what do? I also move my king, except my move sends the game from a slightly worse position to dead lost, and his was the top Stockfish move. King F1 is an incredible move. It absolutely makes 0 sense. I cannot even begin to explain it to you. I have no idea why I played this move, but that is why my rating is 273 points lower than my opponent's. However, now we have the same title, so who really is the winner at the end? At this point, Liam has had enough of my antics, and he begins to expand on the queen side. Now, we saw another GM in this video expand on the similar way on the queen side. His name was Alexei Sarana, and he met a very painful fate, right? B4, he attacked me on the queen side, and then he got checkmated. Well, in this game, as all my pieces retreat to safeguard my absolute beta king here over on F1, the trades continue, and I am simply defenseless. I mean, Liam does a very nice job here, and now he's going to defend his position with his rooks. At some point, his other rook is going to get involved. I've got absolutely nothing here. Or do I? This is where I unlock the power of the international master blossoming into a grandmaster, the knight. As I always tell my beginners, you absolutely never give up in a game of chess if there is a knight. If it is a knight versus 8 queens, you do not give up. Even though 8 queens technically control every square on the chessboard, you still do not give up. This is the advice that you get on this channel. And so here I started galloping with my horse. And boy, did my horse take me to the promised land, because all of a sudden it made it to the complete opposite side of the board. I mean, if we retreat several moves ago, when one of my horses died in battle, this horse made it from here to here to here to here to here, and triumphantly delivers a kiss of death to the Black King, which is forced to retreat. And now Queen D8, and my opponent cannot block, so they must part ways with one rook and a second one, and it's mate. At what point will these grandmasters understand that you cannot defeat an international master with traditional means of the game, like attacking them on the queen side when their forces are overextended? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they're messing with. They could win every minute of every game and lose at the final second, because they've got no idea what kind of garbage us IMs are capable of conjuring up and making them cough themselves into submission. And this is the way I defeated the very strong and respectable Grandmaster from Vietnam, Le Quang Liem. Now, I've got some more games to show you, all right? That was 5. Now we've got 4 more to go. This is a Title Tuesday game against the current Grand Prix semifinalist Amin Tabatabai, one of the strongest players from Iran. I played one of my favorite variations in this game, the Tal variation of the Karo Khan, and we got a very complicated position where I played the move e6, and then I took on f7, and we had this middle game. I have doubled pawns, but they do a good job controlling these squares, and I'm trying to prevent black from playing e5, c5, while his king is a little bit exposed. The objective evaluation of this position is completely equal, but as I've been saying, you truly never know what an international master is capable of conjuring up. First, I traded the bishop for the knight. That is not something that you want to do, but my idea was to play knight g5. Here, the best move, unquestionably, is to leave yourself doubled isolated h-pawns in order to prevent the move knight g5. An international master would play this move, but it's simply too stupid looking, and it doesn't get the respect of a grandmaster, so he takes with the rook and allows me to build up my pawns to counteract the power of this bishop. At some point, black should play e5, and he does. And at that point, I trade, and my knights start galloping over here. Again, we see the power of the knights, and in this game, I have 2 of them. And here, I proceed to find an incredible move. You see, bishop b4 attacks my rook, and most people here see the attack on their rook, and they simply move it out of the way. But I'm an international master. I miss these things. Sometimes I forget how bishops go, and instead, I counter-attack my opponent with the move pawn to d4. This is a terrible move, except for the fact that it wins on the spot, and it's plus 3.5 from Stockfish. Why? Because after bishop takes on e1, rook takes on e1, the knight is pinned to the defenseless rook. So it turns out that my stupidity as an IM turned out to be genius. And if anybody's confused, there is no knight d3 because I simply take it. And that's actually what happens in the game. My opponent sacrifices his knight and gets into a 2 knights versus rook endgame. But folks, you saw last game that I was capable of destroying people with just 1 horse. You really think I won't do damage with 2 of them? And so what do? I ride into his position. I stop all his pawn breaks. I walk straight up and I trap his rook. And he resigns because g4 and black is in something we like to call sukswang, where he cannot move anything. My knights suffocate the king and the rook to death, and this is how I defeated very strong Iranian Grandmaster Amin Tabatabai, 2890, but we'll round him up to 2900 so I feel better about myself. Now, game number 7, this is a game against Vidit, very strong Grandmaster from India. Some of you may have also seen a video on this game. It's called I Surprised the Grandmaster on the second move. You see this once again. I was in a phase back then, a cool rebellious phase of playing against the Sicilian defense, and I played b4 and went for this gambit-style line against Vidit where I just attack him with all my pawns. All 4 of my center pawns are going up the board, and literally all 4 of them stand on c4, d5, e4, and f4. This is not the way you're supposed to play chess, but I don't understand that because I have a different letter in my title. Now, what did I do at some? I just kept going. I never took my foot off the gas. I didn't develop any of the pieces on my back rank until my queen. You're supposed to move your bishops and then maybe castle, but that's not the way I play chess. I kick out his knight, and I get a nice big bulge here with f3, f4, g4, and this pressure over here. Vidit tries to attack my rook. I miss it completely. 2 games in a row, I miss the bishop attack on my rook, and I attack his queen instead because I'm greedy. He moves his queen back to d8. I play knight d4, and you see how dominant I am here in the middle of the board, but I gotta make forward progress, so I play f5. Castles, rook d1, and of course, an international master doesn't know that he's supposed to castle, so I move my king. I move my king because why not? Why wouldn't I move my king? Why do I want to castle or play by the principles? And here I play c5, simultaneously hanging 2 pawns at the same time and completely ruining my advantage. But it confuses Vidit. So after he plays the best move, he proceeds to take on g4, which is again the best move. But oh my goodness, I am confusing him here. His queen is hanging. Behind that, there is a hanging bishop. The rook is hanging. This is under attack. And this, I can take all 5 of his pieces. But if Vidit here went for danger levels, he would have been out of the woods. Because after queen takes, I lose my rook. And if I take his queen, he takes mine, proceeds to take this, and there is nothing. But My garbage confused him again, and suddenly, I'm figuring out how to defend myself. I trade queens with him. I go into h6. I take his rook. And when the dust settles, not only do I have an extra rook, I'm also able to play this move. And my only remaining pawn will be an asset to get to the back rank. And I end it in style. I sacrifice my rook for his bishop, play the move c7, and here Vidit resigns, as no matter what he does, my pawn will either queen or he will have to sacrifice a full rook for it. So again, we see the power of nonsense taking effect, confusing the grandmasters, rendering them incapable of delivering any sort of quality result when they play against Gotham. Now, my last two games, this is a game that I played against Badur Jobava, also a very respectable grandmaster. He does stream on Twitch. He's got a fun username, Exotic Princess. This was a very fun game. It was a completely meaningless game. It was a game played somewhere in a Title Tuesday. Sorry, it was not played in a Title Tuesday. It was basically just a random game. And this game got really exciting on move 12, when out of nowhere, I decided to play the move f4. Now, f4, again, very lucky, doesn't actually lose anything. It looks just like a pawn blunder, but I was going to attack him here. Badur played this move and sacrificed his e3 pawn in order to counterattack this. Now that looks very good. Here I proceed to lose my rook by accident. So rook takes c3, I thought it was undefended. I completely missed this. But once again, I get lucky because, you know, I am title. And I take on d4 with check. I almost took it with the knight and hung my bishop in one move. But luckily this time I got it right. And Badur is attacking me. But what do? I play king h8, all right? Knight e4, bishop comes back, and he continues to just belligerently attack me here. But I block, and I have to give up my bishop. Now, what's funny is that I could have played king h6 according to Stockfish, but I thought knight e5 was a better move. But like I just said, I would have hung the bishop, and I did hang the bishop because I'm not very good, but I'm good sometimes. So knight e5, I'm sacrificing my bishop on b7, aka completely didn't see that he could take it. And now, just like many times we've seen in this video, might as well just go to attack their king because that's the only thing I know. I can't outplay these people on the complexes of the squares. I start bringing my pieces to the party and I start creating threats on the king. That's all I know how to do. And then I played king h6 because I wanted to move my knight and I couldn't because I was pinned. So now that my knight is going to go join my queen, I hunt his king out into the open, but I completely mess it up temporarily and my king is stuck protecting himself. But it doesn't matter because my queen and knight are too powerful. His king comes out to f4. And here's queen e3 mate. You see, he was confused by my really bad play. He was like, wait, why is his king out? Maybe I should move my king out too, right? It's just confusion. That's the only thing that works on these players. 8 games down, the 9th game to go. This was the game that actually sealed the deal for FIDE to grant me the Grandmaster title. They saw how capable I was. They weren't fully convinced after the other 8 games, but we see yet again another Trumpowski. This one against Jamsaran Tsipidov. He's a very strong Grandmaster, also I believe living in Russia. And here he plays knight d7. Knight d7 is a truly spectacularly disrespectful move. I mean, I cannot tell you how disrespectful this is. He basically avoids my Trumpowski by moving his knight out of the way completely. I go for a queen's gambit style. Now here I would have declined and lost my queen, but you know, he's better than I am. And yeah, he takes on c4 and plays the move b5, and I castle, and he starts to attack my center here without castling at all. I play the move d5. So d5 is not a very good move because after takes, and bishop takes d5, black simply is a pawn up. The advantage is +9 for Stockfish, knight f4, rook e1 check, but I didn't see that. I mean, come on, d5, I just lost the pawn. But again, as the strategy of this video has mostly shown, just confuse the grandmasters, play bad-looking moves, and they won't be able to refute them. Bishop g3, trying to trade the bishop, he comes back, I do trade and play this, he castles, I go here attacking his queen, and now, after having the advantage for the majority of the opening, we should continue to get our biggest pieces involved, but instead I move my bishop back for absolutely zero reason. Knight b6, I push pawn because even though I have 2 knights, bishop, queen, and a bunch of rooks, why would I not just move my pawn up 1 square? He plays knight d7. Now, since I am no longer able to move my pawn up 1 square, I might as well go queen d3. This move, to my credit, does have a threat. The threat is actually to check him and to mate him. So he goes king h8, so that's no longer a check, and he would block. And a couple moves later, he kicks my knight out and has the option to trade queens with me. Now, he knows that if he trades queens with me, it's going to be too easy of a victory for him. He'd rather keep the game going a little bit longer. Endgames are not really International Master strong suits. So what do? Every time we've seen this in this video, I start an attack on the king. Queen is here, knight is here, bishop is here, f-pawn is coming, and it goes directly to f5. He plays knight e5, and I walk straight up into f6. Now, normally this doesn't look very good, but here I play the move rook f4, and rook f4 has bad intentions. I would like to go rook h4 and rook takes h6 and simply deliver mate. At this point, black's only move is to bring this knight back. To play rook h4, take the pawn, allow this, and go here. All right? But only International Masters are good with their knights. The stronger players tend to use their most powerful pieces, like Queen c8 looking for a trade, and here, for like the 20th time in this video, I use my knight effectively, although I make a blunder and I don't even understand what I'm doing, and that's the move knight f5. Knight f5 just straight up hangs a knight in one move. The point is, I was looking at this, but I completely forgot about this, and for another time in this video, I simply get lucky. And now there is a fork of the queen, and I completely miss it. I completely miss that the queen is hanging, and instead play rook h4, threatening to check and mate him. Completely miss that the queen is hanging. And he can't take because of this. He can't take this because of this. Oh my goodness. So he plays rook d8. I play rook h6, and I thought this was mate. But he takes my rook. And I'm so fortunate to have queen h7, even bishop h7 mate. So, oh my god, crisis averted, blundered my knight, blundered my rook, but still delivered a convincing checkmate victory. And that, folks, is how I applied my 9 games to FIDE. Once again, a quick review of this regulation that now this is possible. You're welcome to go look around the FIDE handbook. It's an incredible honor to have these rules in effect until the end of 2022 over here. And yeah, the title has now been granted official on my chess.com profile as well as on the FIDE page. So we see the FIDE title here, Grandmaster, on the chess.com profile as well. So listen, it's been an incredible journey. I know how many of you have been cheering for me and you thought that, you know, it seemed like it was over, all these training videos, all these small slip-ups in tournaments, but it's such an honor to have this title, and nothing will change. I will continue to work very hard for you and continue to make fun content for you to enjoy. I will not be an elitist gatekeeper. But I do just want to sign off, besides thanking you for all your support, is just to say that I can't believe I was an International Master for so long. I mean, it's honestly such a second-rate title. I mean, to quote Talladega Nights, if you ain't first, you're last. And frankly, if you're second, it's just even worse because you could have been first and you simply never got there. So yeah, International Masters of the past, I mean, you're all disappointments, you're all failures. You probably should have never played chess. And thanks for watching. It's an honor to be granted this Grandmaster title, and I will wear it proudly, and I will make you proud.